Outstanding week 4 of the NFL. See, baby, here, Big Betsus winning big this week, and the law.
Twitterless Lance.
Guys, huh?
Twitterless Lance.
Twitterless
Uh,
lands, baby.
True that. Everyone, Lance now has a Twitter. You don't have to look too hard. It is Twitterless Lance. One S, though, and less. You can go follow him. Follow me at cbaby0991 and Ooze, Big Homie Ooze. But mainly check out Roster Up on Twitter, Instagram, our website, YouTube. Finally got the video up. Check us out, all these platforms. But we got a big show here today. A lot of news, a lot of things happening this past week. Studs and duds, and then we'll finish it off with some starts and sits. I don't know what to make of this, guys. It's been one weird start of the season. That's really how I feel. And I bet you weird stuff will continue tonight, most likely during the Monday night game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's just one of the things is, me and Lance were talking about it last week. We thought that we'd give it one more week to stabilize, and the league says, where? Like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You gotta, it's a toss up every single week, you know? So it's one of those things is like, you just set it and forget it and just pray that, you guys just pop off that week. There's no consistency anywhere.
Yeah. All right, let's start off with the news and get into the studs and duds. Who's take it away?
Yeah, real quick, let's start with the news. First things first, Tua, quarterback of the Dolphins, suffered a brutal second hit in 4 days. And he's now in concussion protocol. He was carted to the hospital. Everything is fine. No timetable for him to return. Praying for everything to be good with him because he took a nasty hit on Sunday, and he had to play on Thursday. I don't know how the doctors. His doctor actually got fired on Sunday. His actual personal doctor who cleared him got fired. Obviously, we know why, because of that hit and how he was cleared the next day. And then he is now out of the hospital. Again, praying for him, his family, because he was throwing up gang signs on that hit on Thursday. That it was bad. It was bad. Another guy, Jonathan Taylor, he suffered an ankle injury, which led to a fumble and a comeback for the Colts. Really bad. He was actually okay. Saw him exchanging jerseys with King Henry later that game. X-rays came negative, saying that he's fine, has a chance to play on Thursday versus Denver. Talking about Denver, Jonathan Williams, RIP Jonathan Williams owners, he suffered a torn LCL, ACL, and he's done for the season. For that being said, for those who have Melvin Gordon, big ups to you. That's me in multiple leagues. Then on the waiver wires, coming on Tuesday, make sure you look at Mike Boone. He actually saw more snaps than Melvin Gordon, because that game Melvin Gordon was fumbling. He fumbled twice that game, which is very unfortunate for him because now Mike Boone might be taking over his snaps.
And how many? He got -2 points in some leagues.
Yeah. Again, starting him in some leagues, didn't do well. Again, the week before, put up 12.5 points with a touchdown. This week, just didn't know what to do with the ball, kept on fumbling. Staying with the Denver Broncos, who are playing on Thursday night. Russell Wilson was dinged up with his shoulder on Sunday. Something to monitor for also Thursday night game. Besides that, he should be playing on Thursday night. Brian Robinson, who is coming off a scary armed robbery, got shot in the leg twice. He is now cleared to come back to physical play, and the Commanders, I was about to call them the Redskins, the Commanders have 21 days to put him on the roster, so he can come off the IR spots. Berg, the rookie off of Titans, he was carted off to the field, confirmed that he had turf toe. He will be missing a few weeks. Robert Woods, if he's still on the waiver wire, probably a good pickup for you to do, especially with that passing game coming to life a little bit. Saw it against the Colts, but the Colts defense, as a Colts fan, was not good at all anyway. Rashad Bateman dealing with a foot injury. Those who have Dunavate that has been popping off every other week, he might be coming for consistent play. Go grab him if he's still on the waiver wire, and most likely be coming in more and more into the Ravens offense. Daniel Jones was dealing with an ankle injury on Sunday, and come Tyrod Taylor, who also came in and he had to leave off of a concussion that game. So Daniel Jones came in with a foot full of tape and is getting monitored for this upcoming week. Most likely he's going to be in. If he is, any and all Giants wide receivers, for me, you just throw them away in your bench. Saquon came in for a wild card for 2 plays. He's still doing well. I think he racked up like 146 rushing yards, no touchdowns because Daniel Jones took 2 of them. For those who betted against anytime touchdowns for Saquon, we had the yards but didn't have the touchdowns. Going deeper into the league, Ian McKenzie from the Bills, he left the game with a head injury. Again, concussions, serious thing. Hopefully he's okay. He's going to be entering the concussion protocol. Kenny Pickett came to the game yesterday for Mitch Trubisky. He came in, had 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 picks. Again, first game for the rookie, but Mike Tomlin said he's going to be the starter going forward for the rest of the season. And then going to the other players that were ruled out for week 4, Zay Jones, James Winston, St. Brown, Michael Thomas, Alvin, who was in London, Keenan Allen, Mac Jones. Big up to the rookie for the Patriots. I don't even know his name because he was the 3rd string because what's his face went out.
Yeah, Brian Hoyer. Yeah, I forgot his name.
Yeah, but big up to him because he was playing well. But keep an eye on those guys for week 5 as their statuses may change for the start to sits.
All right, let's get into this week 4 review. We've got the studs at quarterback, and these first 2, this reminds me of, I forget who the Jets played 2 weeks ago, but they had like a 60-something point total, and they were like the top, like Joe Flacco was like top 3 that week. And so we got Jared Goff and Geno Smith, where a game that went into, like, the point total was 93. Like, what's going on here between the Detroit Lions and the Seahawks of all teams? But they're here, top of the list. I wouldn't get too excited here just because of the fact that 2 weeks ago when the Jets and whoever they played scored, up to 60-something points, they came back to life this week, and, they're not in the top 3 or top 10 this week. But moving on, Tom Brady, garbage time points. Russ finally came back to life. You probably had him on your bench like me and Ooze in most leagues.
Yep.
Josh Allen did his thing in the rain. Murray started off bad but ended good, just like his first 2 weeks. And Justin Herbert. Anything you guys want to point out here?
Yeah. For the Jared Goff, to be honest, he's been his average for 4 weeks has been 24.3 points. Actually, pretty good for a quarterback that's still on the waiver wire. Okay, he's the problem with the whole Lions as a whole is that their defense is really, really bad. Okay, and because of that, they're getting points scored on them, meaning Jared Goff has to throw and throw and throw and throw. So this is why you're seeing Jared Goff go for 37 points, 30 points. You know, his first week against Philly, a good defense, had 16, and then Minnesota, another good defense, at 14. But with the teams that really have a below or average defense, he's going to be scoring those points. He has 8, 10, 11 touchdowns with 3 interceptions this year.
So Philly, he only put up 18 points. That was week 1. He put up 15 points against Minnesota. Minnesota actually has a worse defense than Philly, which is surprising so far through the season. But his 2 big games are Seattle and Washington. So maybe this next week against New England, if you need a starter, if you need to sit Murray or somebody, maybe again in 2 weeks against Miami. 2 weeks for him. He's got a bye week 6. And again, you might not be seeing another good outlook until he plays the Jets until December 18th.
Yeah.
So those are good bye weeks. But Goff is one of those guys. He's up and down. He's up and down. He's not going to be.
I think for me, he's a good streaming quarterback. It's better than Russ right now. If I look at Russ's average points through 4 weeks, probably less than 20. I rather, I'm hoping for as a Russ owner in multiple leagues, I'm hoping for him to do what he did yesterday, with more consistency as he was doing in the Seattle Seahawks the year previous. I know today ESPN they were putting up stats. Geno has a better stat line than Russell Wilson does, and that's saying something huge right now. And for me, I still don't trust Geno, but he's still not as bad as Russ. So for me, if I don't trust Geno, how am I trusting Russ, right? Maybe because he has more money in the bank for me, but Geno out here doing it with his legs and his arms. So again, those 2 guys I think are okay streaming quarterbacks. I think I'll take Jared Goff over Geno, as in the hype. But yeah, with Jared Goff, he's a good streaming quarterback. Like you said, some bye weeks you can definitely pick him up. I think next week is a good matchup for him to score a lot of points, and he has to bye. But he then goes against Dallas, which has a great defense. I'm not trusting that. But again, they might be down a lot with Dallas, and then he has to score points again.
All right. Just for conversation's sake, Russell Wilson is averaging 16.1 versus Jared Goff's 24.3.
Can you imagine?
And this will be something we'll monitor between, I would say, Tom Brady, Russ, and maybe in the future Murray, because he did have that 1 week last week where he was a dud. And all 3 of his games where he was a stud, it all came in him trying to catch up garbage time. All right. For the running back, we had 10 of them score over 20 points this week. We got Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, 3 touchdowns, finally wakes up. Low yards.
Took him 4 weeks to score his first touchdown of the season. Austin Eckler's owners were crying out to the fantasy gods.
I was one of them. It was like the Chargers forgot they had Austin Eckler who could score, and then they're like, "Oh, let's have him score 3 times."
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, which stole a bunch of TDs from Hurts.
No, it was supposed to happen, but again, another guy that was underperforming week after week, and you said I can't take it for a 3rd week or 4th week, and what does he do? He just goes off, right? So
but that hurts the quarterback hurts. Production when he's taking those rushing touchdowns away from him. But anyway, Penny, who had 2 big touchdown runs, 151 yards. Williams, what we expected with no Swift. Pierce, which started him in some leagues, benched him in others,
Same.
but hopefully this is a theme going forward. King Henry, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, tough defense, 2 touchdowns, 1 running, 1 catching. CMC led all running backs with 81 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And Dobbins, who was probably on most people's bench as well. Guys, talk to me. Josh Jacobs, would you trade him? Sanders, would you trade that guy? Penny, do we expect this from him? What are your thoughts on these running backs who are not usually, first round picks here?
Yeah, for me, like Josh Jacobs was definitely a boom in the category for running backs. Do I see him continuing this trend of him, going through 144 and 2 touchdowns? Absolutely not. Can he stay consistent with somewhere around 80 and 90 with a tutty? He could, um, but we have to see that for the next 2 weeks, especially him going against KC, and then he has a bye, and then he comes back with Houston at week 7. So KC definitely didn't allow any running yards against Leonard Fournette or Rachaad White, and I don't think he's going to be there for the really pass catching downs with Derek Carr. Zaire White saw some touches in the pass catching offense there. So for me, this was more a boom for Josh Jacobs and not really, yeah, like a star performance.
Yeah.
Lance, who on this list do you want to speak about? What strikes out to you? We own Dameon Pierce. We started him. Do you think this is going to be the new normal? Anyone else you want to touch on?
No, so Dameon Pierce, he's definitely everything we thought he was. The guy's got big play ability, put up like a 70-yard touchdown in the game. Now those aren't going to come every week, but he also is putting up mean points even before then. So Dameon Pierce, 2 weeks in a row, getting stronger, getting more looks, and getting more confidence in with the coaching staff. Anybody on this list that I would start to try and feel out the trade waters is Williams. We know Swift is going to come back at some point. We know Williams is going to keep this level up. But there's plenty of fantasy owners out there that just are so desperate at running back. And the reason they're desperate is week 1, there was only 6 running backs that had over 20 points. Week 2, there was 2. Week 3, there was 6. This week, there was 10. So if any of those guys are on that list that you can try and capitalize on, going into the buys coming up, I would start getting those guys lined up and start making those conversations now. And Williams is one of those guys. I don't see him. It's a shared backfield when the guy's healthy. You don't really want to keep somebody like that who's not going to keep it all. Dameon Pierce, that's his backfield. Derrick Henry, that's his backfield. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's his backfield for the most part. J.K. Dobbins, now that he's getting more touches, that's his backfield. The rest of those other guys, Sanders, Eckler, they're all expected to be there, right? You're not really trading those guys away unless you expect some injury to come up. But Williams is the only one on that list that is not like the others.
Yeah, and I love what you said with Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the most part, because if anybody watched that game on Sunday night, Isaiah Pacheco, if he's on the waiver wire, I think that's a stash.
Picked him up.
I think that's a great stash, because that man was looking explosive.
He was running hard.
Yeah, he was looking explosive, and everybody from the commentators to Twitter was saying this guy's looking like something special. Clyde will definitely try to keep him back there, because he also had some good runs, some good holes that he burst through. But I give it a couple weeks, and you'll probably see the share start to switch into Pacheco's favor in the share snaps between the running backs there.
Yeah, there is something to say about the fact that he looks explosive. Helaire is supposed to be explosive as well. The difference there with Helaire is he's got a few years, and he's got an understanding on that backyard play that Mahomes puts in.
Yeah,
and you see that with that jump shot fadeaway touchdown that Mahomes threw.
Backyard football.
Kept working the back of that end zone, ran to the open spot, and was available for that catch.
Yeah.
Without that, there goes 8 points
Yeah.
from his fantasy totals.
Yeah.
Pacheco has to learn that kind of stuff. That's not something that
Learn just to
comes
keep
intuitive.
moving, just to keep moving
Yep.
and moving and moving, because that's what that's what
Mahomes
needs,
Yeah.
because when he gets in trouble, he can definitely make something happen. But yeah, I completely agree. I think if Pacheco starts to learn that backyard type of play and always move your feet, always trying to get open, because if he doesn't see you one time, trust me, he's looking at 5 other guys to come back to you. So and he has the speed. I think he's way faster than Clyde, and again, he has a sharper cut. So we'll see.
Now I'm greedy. I would try and keep Edwards a little longer. Edwards-Helaire is closer to Williams than anybody else in that list. I would try and keep him longer because I know that Pacheco isn't there to take it yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But
absolutely.
Swift, as soon as he comes back, that share is going to be there. So in my greed, I might end up losing a trade partner because of that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So don't be like me. Maybe don't be as greedy.
Before we move on, I'm mad I fell asleep for the rest of that game last night because, like we mentioned before, Patrick Mahomes out here playing like backyard football. I don't know if it was a Twitter or Instagram post or the commentator. They were saying like it's just like he's out there being like the grown dad playing against little kids in the backyard, throwing around defenders, flipping up against over defenders and getting a touchdown, just like ridiculous stuff. So
You know
Mahomes,
what aggravates me about Mahomes?
talk to us.
You see those highlights, you see those things, right? It doesn't look like there's a throw he can't make. It doesn't look like there's a read he can't make. It doesn't look like there's a tackle he can't break. Why are all these games? Why does he make these look like these mere mortals can play with him? I'm tired of seeing him only win by a touchdown. I want to see 40 points.
Not for nothing.
Yeah, I want to see God just take over the field.
I think
that's what aggravates me. I know he can do it, and he's not.
He did it last night. I tell you that for sure. He said Tom Brady, who? I'm not losing to you twice. Good for you. He took the Super Bowl, but I ain't doing that again. And he made sure of it. He definitely did. I'll tell you that for sure.
All right, let's get into the wide receivers. Only 4 of them scored over 20 points this week. We've got Mike Evans at the top of the list, 103 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 targets. Justin Jefferson came back to life after 2 points he had, fantasy points last week. 147 yards, 10 receptions in London, no touchdowns. Or no, he had a rushing touchdown. Sorry.
Yeah, he took
and then T. Higgins and Tyreek Hill, after his dud, he came back to life as well.
He told Eli Apple was going to eat you up, boy. And he did.
Yep. Jamal Agnew, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf. Agnew basically benefited from the wet game and no Zay Jones being in the game. CeeDee Lamb. This is interesting. One of the stats they said during the Cowboys game is that basically CD performs better with Cooper Rush in than with Dak, apparently. Obviously a smaller sample size, but he averages like 100 yards and I think a touchdown or so with Cooper Rush. So something to keep in mind as Dak comes back. They took the stitches out last week. Reynolds went off because of no St. Brown being in, and then Hollywood Brown in the garbage time with Murray. So, Evans came back, balled out. Jefferson balled out. CeeDee Lamb, this is what we expected. Finally, Tyreek Hill goes off. What do you guys think about, say, Agnew, Reynolds, any of these guys, Hollywood?
8 of those guys are not going to be on this list next week. And I'll go out on a limb and give you all of those guys half of those guys, half of the 8 of them. Higgins will not be there. Hill will not be there. Agnew will not be there, and Reynolds will not be there. Now, Agnew and Reynolds are really easy, especially if Zay Jones is back and St. Brown is back. But Hill, we don't even know who's throwing to Hill. Is it going to be Teddy
It's
Bridgewater?
Teddy. They said Teddy.
We know it's not going to be Tua.
Yeah.
But I don't see Teddy Bridgewater being able to do what Hill needs. Higgins, I think that was
Whoa. Teddy Bridgewater, I'm pretty sure, did majority of the 163 yards that Hill had. I am 100%. I am totally sure that he had a majority of that because I think he had like two. I think it was two or I know he had a 70 yard or 80-yard bomb to Hill. And I want to say he had like another one for like 40 or 50.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure, but those bombs, as we already saw at Tua, don't come every week. How do you put up 2 points one week?
I mean,
because those bombs don't always work.
I'm just saying. The only reason I said is that Teddy can get it done because we've seen it. I don't think I think on your premise of the thing is it going to be consistent like Tua?
Look, we saw Jimmy Garoppolo come in and put up stats like he was, hey, why'd you guys bench this guy? And then the next week, what did he do? He didn't put up stats.
Again, I think that's the thing.
As you prepare for Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to know, what is Teddy Bridgewater terrible against?
Yeah.
Is it blitzes to the left? Is it drop coverages on the right? Yeah, that kind of stuff is going to happen to Teddy, where he didn't have to worry about that with Cincinnati. So he gets the benefit of being able to come in and the defense isn't tuned up for him. I don't know that that's going to be that case for this week. Also, if the Dolphins are playing from behind again, they're going to be a lot more throws. If he's not going to be able to connect on those throws, it's going to be a lot harder on him than anything else. Their run game has not been in it. T. Higgins, that's been a boomer bust guy this whole season too. There's a lot of boom bust guys on here. I could see Brown still being there. I could see CD being there. Jefferson, he should be up there every week. Same thing with Mike Evans. They should be up there every week. Mike Evans is the only one that shouldn't be up there if he's playing against the Saints. Because we all know Marcus Latimer has that guy's number in his underwear. That guy's got that guy locked down.
All right. Anything else before we move to tight ends?
No, I think everybody else.
We gotta talk about that tight end.
We got Hockenson leading the way, 35 fantasy points, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions. We had your boy from Indy, Mo Alley Cox, ooze. Kelsey after that, Gerald Everett, and Ertz. I like the consistency of Ertz, but it's only because of the garbage time. And then Hockenson balled out. Mo Alley Cox had 2 touchdowns. And Travis Kelce scored like within 1 minute of the game last night. And obviously Gerald Everett, he's been pretty consistent. So what do you guys think about these tight ends for this week?
I think, again, it's one of those things for like TJ, he's been MIA for the past 3 weeks anyway. He came back from a game that, scored 93 points with Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a good streaming cornerback for next week. He could be definitely a potential start for me next week, foreshadowing there, because of the fact that next week the defense that Jared Goff is going against, he has to throw. So great stud for the week. Might have to repeat that next week before the bye. Everybody else on the list, I think I agree with you. Ertz, it's more garbage time. He wasn't really doing anything special. It was more of Kyle Murray just using his tiny little legs to run around and get it to him. I want to give big ups to Mo Alley Cox. He had 2 touchdowns, 85 yards, but with that offense not clicking, the offensive line is not doing what needs to be done. It's between him and Jelani Woods, the rookie. So consistency is what we try to preach on the show, and I don't think it's going to be there. But he does have games that he can score those good points. But for me, it's maybe a sit for this week going against Denver.
Lance, any thoughts on these tight ends, or should we just get into the duds?
Yeah, Hawkinson is one of those ones that I don't think a lot of people are going to drop or all of a sudden pick up. He's taken in almost every league. I can't imagine he's sitting out there. But if he is, and you pick him up, do realize that number that he put up this week is largely because of how depleted the Lions were almost everywhere else. With Swift out, with St. Brown out, with Shark out, there was a lot of openness in that midfield, and that's the same reason why Reynolds pops up on the board. That kind of stuff is going to lead to bigger target share for him, and you saw his targets jump up to 12 this week. So don't expect that kind of output. It was great for this week. Probably going to make his fantasy points look weird for the whole year. But he does have the ability to put up another one next week, but then he's got to buy right after that.
All right. We'll get into the duds now. We've got QB duds. If you were hoping for big games from your running quarterbacks, Lamar and Hurts, they kind of hurt you this week.
And both because they were using their running backs this week. We had Sanders putting it up in Philly, and we had J.K. Dobbins back in Baltimore.
And that could be a product of just they were both in rain games, just a different game script. Obviously, Tua got hurt. Mariota, you can fade this guy, had 3 points.
I don't know if you're at least starting these two guys. Like with Mariota and Wentz, I mean, you're not starting these guys. There's no way.
I had to start Mariota in one league.
Really?
Had to. Yeah. And I started Jimmy G the week before. We're having all types of problems. Huh?
You're streaming quarterbacks?
Oh yeah, have to.
Lord have mercy.
Because who did I draft? Oh, Dak.
Oh God. Cowboys fans, the Cowboys hurt you in every aspect of life, do they? Don't they? Yeah. Every aspect of life, they just come and hurt you every single time.
You know what's crazy? I usually draft a Cowboy every team. Like I got like 6 leagues. Every year, probably draft one Cowboy. Only drafted 2 this year. CD in one league, and Dak in this league. And then Dak hurts his hand.
Oh wow!
So now I'm streaming quarterback till he comes back. And then Wentz, and after we sang Trevor Lawrence's praises last week, he goes and
I know. I started him this week. He puts up a huge dud.
You got to pay attention to the weather. That should teach everybody this week.
Oh,
if there is a hurricane coming through, pay attention to the weather.
Lance, it's so funny you say that. I did that.
I didn't even think about it until the games are already on.
No, you're absolutely correct, because I actually thought about it when I put in a bet in, which I won. It was one of the cards I posted in the chat. I did Mark Andrews under 65 yards. Everybody's like, why are you going to do that? That's absolutely crazy. He's averaging 70-some yards. But I was like, this hurricane, I'm literally driving back from AC. I was like, this hurricane's I was on the East Coast. There's no way that these guys are going to be throwing this ball like that. And I'm not even thinking, because I'm still in the gambling mode. I'm on the on 30 West, and I'm leaving AC. I'm on 30 West, and the Bay is literally trying to come onto the highway right now. It's sitting right there. I don't know if you guys take 30 West to AC. I take 30 West to AC, but you know where the billboards are and stuff like that, and people go crabbing. The water is it's waving, trying to get onto 30 West. I'm like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I drove the Jeep. My wife was like, "Oh my God, is this gonna flood?" I said, "I don't care. I'm out of here, baby. We're moving because this hurricane is hitting, right?" So I do that, and then I didn't think. I was like, I should change Trevor Lawrence out of there because he's playing at Philly, and Philly was just downpouring too. So yeah, this week, check the weather, people. Check the weather because it's affecting everything in good ways and bad ways. Just make sure you do it on all your teams.
Yeah, remember, if it's going to be heavy downpours, the run game is going to be important. If it's going to be snow, the run game is not going to be important. They're going to throw more. And the
I
only
don't
thing
know
you need to
why.
think of, remember when the Titans played the Patriots and CJ couldn't get his motors running, and the Brady and the Patriots were just throwing.
They're
He was
throwing the
just throwing
ball.
touchdowns left and right. They
But
had like 40 points
yeah,
that
they
game,
just live in
all
that.
because
They
the
live in that weather.
defensive rush couldn't get leverage to push through the offensive line.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's the thing. Snowing on the field, look for passing. Rain, heavy rain, look for runs. And also, stay away from those quarterbacks who have Donald Trump size hands. Trevor Lawrence, that's you.
Yeah, not them baby hands.
All right. We've got these running backs. Taylor fumbled, no touchdowns, 20 carries for 42 yards, also got injured. Najee Harris, for me personally, I'm ready to trade him myself.
I told you to trade him 2 weeks ago. He's not it. Like that whole offense is not it. Get rid of him. It's too late for you to sell
Terrible.
high. You can't do anything with it.
Williams got hurt. Now he's out for the rest of the season. James Robinson. Did he have a bad game?
He didn't have
Am
a.
I
He
on
didn't,
this?
I don't think he had a great game. I mean, it was Philly. Like he just. He
Oh,
had,
yeah, 2 points. Yeah.
yeah. The
Um,
Jaguars. The Jaguars were humming. By the way,
yeah.
they were humming, but just couldn't do anything.
Gibson, Pollard, Melvin Gordon, ETN. So, a major concern here. Taylor, Harris, Williams is out. Gibson could be another red flag because Robinson is now coming back. So, what do you guys think here? Hit the panic button on some of these guys. What we doing?
For me, like the guys that you hitting panic buttons is Najee Harris, James Rob. It's just those guys that were they weren't traded hot. They weren't hot commodities coming into the draft, but you had so much value in them and they were hitting. But now you're thinking to yourself like, should I continue to start them or should I sit them? And then that's James Robinson. That's Antonio Gibson because he looked good a couple weeks ago. Didn't look good past 2 weeks. And Brandon Robinson is coming off of his traumatic injury and most likely is just going to come straight into the team and take the snaps. Melvin Gordon, I'm not worried about him. He's a vet. He's been playing the game for so long. He had 4 fumbles. I think that's the most I think his first 2 fumbles were the most he ever did in his career. And then for me, I feel like it's more of just chucking it up to a bad game. He had a bad game. He just couldn't shake it. For next week, he's the starting guy. He's going to be the main guy. I think Russell Wilson's going to be saying to him, hey, we have a short week. You got to shake it off. And we're going against the Colts, who have a very bad, not very bad, but just a bad defense right now. And, Shaq Leonard he just got a concussion. He's out for this Thursday game. So linebackers are back to weakness. And, I think you don't have to worry about Melvin Gordon or Tyrod Taylor because Tyrod Taylor started off slow last season and then came to be the number 1 rushing running back in the whole season, the whole NFL last year. So you just gotta give it time.
But I'm worried. Lance, we share Jonathan Taylor. He was our first overall pick in this league, the Roster Up League. And I think, 2 or 3 weeks before the draft, he said, think about taking Derrick Henry first overall, then Jonathan Taylor. First week, I was like, that would have been a mistake. Now I'm thinking like, he might have had a point here. So as a Jonathan Taylor owner, Lance, what are you concerned about this? It's been about 2 or 3 bad weeks. of your first overall pick not giving you what you need. I mean, we're still winning, thankfully, but this is
Oh,
concerning.
we're winning because we didn't play Ooze this week. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, this week I did put up some
Last
months.
week he put up a historic low. This week he puts up a historic high, and we met him on the right weeks,
Yeah, you
folks.
did.
We
You
met him on
definitely
the right
did make me on the right week. That was a good quote right there. You did because I was
week.
I was mashing today.
And we didn't put up chump points this week. We just
Oh
didn't put
no,
up God's stats that he put up. So yes, Taylor. I don't even know what to do with Taylor, right? Because he's your first round pick. There's not a price that you could get back that would equal what you think you deserve for a first round pick.
Exactly.
And that's even trying to discount it for what you know Taylor is and what you know that offensive line is. The only thing we could do is continue to ride him unless we've got a running back better than him. Because we're not going to trade him and get something we like, and nobody's going to want him. Because frankly, the issues that we have with him, everybody knows. And it's not that we're going to get another running back for him. So we're kind of stuck with Taylor, kind of ride or die with him right now. That's how it typically is with a lot of your number one picks. Not a lot of people drop those guys. Not a lot of people get to trade away from those guys. Not unless they're wide receivers.
all right. Speaking of wide receivers, we've got a couple duds this week. Diggs kind of hurt you if you were hoping for big points again, kind of like Hurts and Lamar Jackson. But you got Chase, Waddle, Amari Cooper, Pittman Jr., Curtis Samuel, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Deontay Johnson, Scary Terry Bateman, and Gabe Davis. I feel like the Bills are going to be all right. Those guys, Diggs, Gabe Davis, just because of the rain.
Same thing
Not
with
sure
Smith.
who. Smith, yep. Waddle concerns me since I'm a Waddle owner. Chase kind of hurt you. Other than that, who you guys kind of concerned about on this list this week?
For me, it's probably Curtis Samuel, and Garrett Wilson. Those two is due to the quarterback play because of the fact that Zach Wilson he won the game, but he has his own favorite target, right?
Yep.
Because Garrett Wilson was Joe Flacco's. And you can obviously see
Yep.
that. The only common denominator between the two is the guy that we told you to pick him up is Conklin, the tight end. Okay, that man, he was scaring me for a little bit for the first two quarters, and then Zach was like, "Oh man, I forgot about you. You know, you're a good guy."
I forgot about the security blanket.
I forgot about the security blanket, right? So definitely a guy that he liked. Corey Davis came out the blue, right? Scored a touchdown.
Yep.
Oh man, Corey Davis. So I feel like maybe Joe Flacco had him for 4 weeks or 3 weeks, what it can be. And Zach wasn't gonna have a full camp with him, so maybe going forward he can get him, keep him going. But for right now, I'm kind of worried about that. I have to wait to see it again. You know what I mean? With Joe Flacco, I knew what it was. But with Zach Wilson, I don't. Curtis Samuel, it's always a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss because, say it again, I say it every episode. Carson Wentz is a good bad quarterback. Okay, he just can't get out of his way. He can make the throws, but he can't make the throws. I know it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense at the same time. Okay, he threw 2 of them to Curtis Samuels, to the right side of the end zone, and Curtis just couldn't get his feet in, and the throw itself was gorgeous, just couldn't get his 2 feet. But at the same time, then he throws garbage into the ground because he keeps holding on the ball too long. He's a good bad quarterback. He can make the throws, but just can't get it there. Amari Cooper, you just gotta throw him out the window. It's David Njoku or nobody else in that Browns offense, and that's Jacoby. And was what you said in preseason. Like, I know Jacoby came from the Colts. Came from the Patriots to the Colts to Miami, and every single time he went to another team, their tight ends blew the fuck up.
Yep.
Just blew up. I don't know why, but just blew up. So, Amari Cooper, hopefully they can see more shares, but he's on the field 75% of the time, 80%. I think he has 85% of offensive snaps, but just can't get the targets. So,
some of these guys you drafted in mid rounds, hoping for them to explode, maybe even top or third round. Deontay Johnson, Scary Terry, Bateman, Gabe Davis. You Pittman. You looking to trade away these guys, trade for. What are your thoughts there, Lance, on those type of players who are duds?
I might listen to somebody who wants to trade Cooper to me, only because I get what Uz is saying, and my theory is through Njoku didn't really have a lot of points earlier on, and Cooper looked like his old self, getting the target shares, catching those balls. But I think that's a product of preseason and practice, where Brisket was not taking any hits and was getting a slow offense and was getting used to throwing to people on his first reads and stuff like that, and not all of a sudden his eyes dropping down. Now that he's taking hits in the real season and they can't just lay off him because he's got the red shirt on, I think his eyes have started to come down, and that's where Njoku is sitting. So we know he's not going to be the long-term solution there. When and if Watson comes back, will I want to stash Cooper on my bench until something like that happens? Depends on the price. I might actually take that. For the rest of the guys on this list, Deontay Johnson is going to be something to be seen. I mean, it's not a good look that your quarterback that they're putting in his name already rhymes with what he did 3 times last week. Pickett. That defense heard that and was like, okay, coach, sorry, jumping up there and grabbing those balls. The Deontay Johnson really wasn't doing much with Trubisky. We'll see if he can do something with the rookie, but we know the rookie's got rapport with Pickens. So maybe Pickens is going to pick up some of that slack, get a little bit more target share because of that rapport. But for the most part, I don't even know if I can convince somebody to take Pittman. I've got Pittman in one of my leagues. I'm about to start sitting him. I really don't know what to do with the kid.
He had one bad game.
He had more than one bad game. He had 5 points just this.
Yeah, and then he had. What did Pittman have? He had 11 points last game, and then he had 22 points 2 weeks before he was injured on the week 2. That one bad game.
He was injured week 2. He was injured week 2?
Yeah, he was injured week 2.
Yeah. He was
He had a hamstring.
week 2.
Yeah, he had a hamstring.
Right. He had the quad or the hamstring, right? So he was out week 2. Mm-hmm. He put up a decent week 1. He didn't put up much coming back.
Hey,
week 3, that's not what I expect out of a 4th round pick. That's not what you expect out of a 4th round pick. That's your second wide receiver or your first wide receiver, depending on how heavy you want running back. So he's your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. 11 points doesn't do it. 11 points doesn't do it.
All right, we are not going to spend too much time on the tight end duds. Mark Andrews, what game? He's going to be fine. We mentioned him earlier. Waller.
Waller's probably down because Jacobs was up. We'll see it flip the other way, likely.
We're not fighting about Kyle Pitts, but it was a mistake to draft him at this point because it's been no good.
It's haven't been tough. I mean,
and then
for a defender of Kyle Pitts, I have no shares on him. So
he's been looking at it like, dang, I hope nobody listens to me.
Damn, I didn't listen to myself.
He was like, you know what? 3rd round might be a little too rich for me.
Yeah, that's a little too rich, man. That was crazy.
And then we got Dalton Schultz, who I have no shares of either, being my, little tidbit I shared earlier.
the
0
Dalton,
points goose egg this week. So
but he was coming into this week as he was coming into this week with what do you call it? What is it? A shoulder, or he had some type of injury this week,
yeah, he did.
and I'm thinking to myself, maybe he's going to get over it. But it, like you said, goose egg. Wasn't involved. I thought Cooper Rush. I thought they were in the end zone a good amount of times.
Yep.
I thought for them, Dalton Schultz was definitely going to score, or definitely get some type of involvement. But I think the injury really kept him out of the offense there.
All right. That was your week 4 studs and duds. We got through it. That was a lot of players we discussed. And now heading into week 5, we got starts and sits. Lance, why don't you start us off with your starts and sits, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And then you can
Yeah. So
talk to him.
for quarterbacks, I'm going to start off with your sit for the week, right? If you got Kyler Murray, they're going up against the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense have a stout defensive line. They have good cornerbacks. The defense has not been giving up a whole heck of a lot. If you've been worried about Murray because he's been putting up a lot of garbage time points for you, you're probably going to be sitting there biting your fingernails another week. And this week, he might not put up those garbage points. So if you got a viable backup, I would put him in. And I mean a viable backup, meaning for some reason you stashed Tom Brady or you've got Derek Carr sitting on there. Speaking of Derek Carr, he's my QB start this week, right? He's going up against Kansas City. We saw what Tom Brady was able to do. He didn't win the game, but fantasy-wise, he might have won your game. He put up 31 points against that defense, and Tom Brady up until that point wasn't doing much. He was averaging, I think, 18 points through week 3, and so that 31 points he put up last night is his best mark this season. So Derek Carr put up a good mark this week, and he's going up against KC. He might be your streaming, especially if you got any buys this week or if you got to sit Murray. For running backs, I know that Jonathan Taylor's hurt, but Nyheim Hines coming in, that's not going to be somebody you want to start. Going up against Denver, that line is going to, that offensive line sucks. Denver's going to let them know. And so that's going to be a hard game for that running back. Dameon Pierce, we're still high on him. He's going to be start this week. So if you had him on your bench and you didn't listen to us last week and put him in this week. You saw the points. He's done it 2 weeks in a row. Get him off your bench. Get him in your lineup. Your sit for this week, coming out of that Denver game again, Michael Pittman Jr. You've got another wide receiver who's averaging more than 11 points a game, or averaging more than 10 points a game. Put him in there. Michael Pittman Jr. is not going to be somebody who's going to give you a whole lot of points there. I just don't see Matt Ryan getting the time he needs there. Baltimore defense is hurt, beat up. So Cincinnati, my start there, Tyler Boyd. He didn't do much this past week. T. Higgins was the number that was getting called. Jamar Chase felt a little bit of that burn with T. Higgins taking those touchdowns. But Tyler Boyd is probably going to be the one that's going to take it off of Baltimore's defense. Those rookie and injured defensive backs are going to be a problem there. We saw what Miami was able to do against them. We saw what some other teams were able to do. If it wasn't for the weather, we would have seen what Buffalo was able to do against that defense. The defense, unless they've got the weather on their side, is not going to be able to slow down that Cincinnati offense. Again, we heard what Dalton Schultz did last week. I don't expect him to do much this week either. So he's my sit at tight end. And my start is Hockenson. We know that there's still a lot of injured people there. Still looking to see if St. Brown's going to be in the game. But we know Swift still isn't there. DJ Shark may still not be there. So Hockenson, if you got him sitting there on your bench for some reason, get him in. Because Goff is going to be playing up against a defense that's going to allow that kind of points.
All right. And Ooze, your starts and sits from week 5.
Yeah. So I'll start with the starts and then go with the sits right after. I have two starts right now for the quarterbacks. I have Russell Wilson starting for the quarterbacks. I think what he did this past Sunday with him throwing I think it was two touchdowns, and 370 yards, I believe, if I'm getting that right. 237 and two touchdowns, plus his almost 30 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. That's the Russ that we know. That's the Russ that we drafted. And I think going against the Colts that are just giving up points left and right. And I think that's going to be a game they're going to be throwing both sides. He's going to be another start for this week. So just believe in him another week. I know it's a short week for them. It's playing Thursday night, so you can get that in and get that early done. I have another start, which is Andy Dalton for those who are streaming quarterbacks. See, baby, I'm looking at you because going against the Lions, I think any quarterback going against the Lions at this point is just going to eat because the defense is they're the worst in the NFL. They're the worst defense in the NFL, and we've seen it with the Seahawks game, and you're going to see it again with the Saints game. That brings me into.
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, I think, is a great play. They played well in London. Played well in London against the Vikings. Almost won that game. If it wasn't for the double doink field goal, the Saints would have won that game. Going on to the wide receivers. Oh, well, yeah, I'll go to wide receivers and go to running back. So going on with wide receivers, I want to continue that with Chris Olave. If you have him, I know he's been a flex play for the past couple of weeks, maybe even on the bench. Last week he went off for I think 12 points. I think this week again, going against the Lions offense, you can even double down with Andy Dalton and Chris Olave if you have him and you're streaming quarterback. Definitely play him this week. He's going to eat this week. Maybe into that Rashad Penny type of thing. Rashad Penny type of points of 30 something because he was really really good against the Minnesota defense. He can only just do even better against the Detroit Lions defense. Another start for me is going against my man Lance is Michael Pittman. Okay, I understand that last week wasn't his best week, but that being said, the Denver Bronco defense is just not as good as people think. Remember, we had Derek Carr shredding this defense for 32 points. So Michael Pittman, favorite target for Matt Ryan, who scored actually 27 points last week. Garbage points, but 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Unfortunately, he had to fumble, but I think he's going to eat this week. Going on running backs. I have a running back, sorry. Damian Harris off the Patriots. Definitely going to eat this week. I feel like he's going to be more featured because of the rookie going to be starting this week. Brian Hoyer was hurt. Mac Jones still hurt. Haven't got a confirmation of him playing. So they're going to rely more on the running game like they did. It's going to be between him and Roman Stevenson, right? Am I pronouncing that right?
Hamondre.
Yeah.
Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Yeah, Stevenson. But Damian Harris is going to be taking the bulk of that. Who else am I missing? Tight ends?
Yep.
Tight end. I actually I have a tight end to start this week. If I have
good in the hood.
If I had a, I'm not trusting Mo Ali Cox, but yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to my sits of the week. Who did I say for what wide receiver? Sorry.
Pittman.
Pittman.
Or are you talking about?
Yeah.
I did have Pittman, right? Okay. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. He's gonna eat this week. Starting all my leagues. Big sits for the week, right? We're going into the week for this week. I have Geno Smith. I know those who want to play Geno Smith after having a great 3 weeks in a row.
Yep.
He's going against the Saints defense. Okay, the the offense of the Saints, you can say they're up and down, but the defense of the Saints have been consistent for 2 years now. They've been one in the upper half of the league, good defenses, and they continue to show that. They played well again. Should have won a game against Minnesota. If it wasn't for the triple doink, double doink on a field goal, that's a win. And they played lights out in England. Running back, I think I messed up all my notes here. Sorry. My running back. Oh, okay. Running backs, we talked about this before, with Brian Robinson coming back, not this week, but Antonio Gibson. I know he's a starter. He's been an RB1/RB2 in most leagues because of the fact that he's a starter and he's not sharing anything. J.D. McKissic has been prominent in the pass catching for the Washington Commanders, but with them going against the Tennessee Titans, which stopped one of the best running backs in the league, Jonathan Taylor, for only 42 yards off of 20 rushes, you can only imagine what they're going to do against Antonio mediocre Gibson. Okay, that's a huge sit for me. I'm sitting him in one league, playing, I think, Bryce Hall or another rookie or something like that, because I just seen what the Tennessee Titans defense did against my Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. And then I have one sit for the wide receivers.
Yep.
I can quickly tell you my sit. Kyle Pitts, the storm in the garbage, because he's just I know Lance is going to love to hear that. It's probably a no-brainer anyway.
Unless you could time his touchdown. Yeah.
Lord,
No.
yeah. It's just a. I don't know. You know, the crazy thing is, Marcus Mariota was a quarterback that loved his tight ends in Tennessee, and we backed that up with stats, and we said it. You know, we said that he made what's his face Walker into the man he was. You know what I mean? Like, he was slinging the ball to Walker, and Walker was at the time, I think, like 34, 35. He was like one of the oldest tight ends there, and he's playing like he was 20 something. So you figure you have a guy in Kyle Pitts who is taller, faster, stronger than Walker, and he's actually not looking his way. So it's really dumbfounding to see that, and to see that week after week for this past week. So hopefully that changes for those Kyle Pitts owners who even went double tight end in the first 2 rounds, or first 3 rounds for that matter. Yeah, he's a definitely sit till you see it. I'm going against the Buccaneers this week. Just sit him. Just sit him. It's no point. We talked about this guy as well. He was a dud last week, probably a dud this week. But again, if you don't have shares in him, I think this should be a clip. Go back in the VOD. Lance said, Amari Cooper, he's a sit, but if you don't have him, he probably, and people are struggling with him, go grab him. To be honest, I didn't even think about it till today, till Lance said it, because Jacoby Brissett is doing a great job being a placeholder, and Deshaun Watson comes back in prime fantasy season. He comes in 3 weeks or 4 weeks before playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you having him on the bench, and you're just scraping by till playoffs, and you make playoffs, and then Deshaun Watson comes out of nowhere, week 8, and starts slinging to this boy. Now you have 3, probably 4 wide receivers that you can start. 3 wide receivers starting, 1 flex, or 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, or 2 flexes, whatever it may be, and you stole this man from the previous owner for a bag of peanuts. So for now, he's a sit him on the bench. If you have him, just bury him there till Deshaun Watson gets there. And if you don't have him, go get him. But yeah, he can't keep starting on your fantasy teams for right now.
All right. We made it through starts and sits, week 5. It's been a crazy season. Point totals up in the almost close to 100 between almost these terrible teams. Your first round picks aren't doing that good. You got people coming out the woodwork, scoring all types of crazy points. And as always, a lot of season ending injuries or IR. But stay with the Russell for the rest of the season. We will guide you, we will help you. And check out the rest of Roster Up. We've got a new segment with betting over on Around the League, and a lot of content still flowing from other teams. So check it out. Do not miss out, and always come back for another episode of The Russell. That's our show. Guys, you got anything else?
No, just stay with your gut, stay with us. Don't panic and just believe in the teams, believe in the matchups. That's what you can do for right now.
And check the weather.
Oh yeah, check the weather.
Check
Man.
that weather.
All right. It's been real from the Russell.